Well, welcome everyone for our fourth episode of the Family and Researcher Roundtable series with the Cute Syndrome Foundation. And I have here Katie with the Dandy Did Foundation. And we have lots to talk about today. And I do just kind of want to put an emphasis on that we're going to talk about the Danny Did and how it came about. And how it came about is unfortunately, a sad story. And we are going to talk about SUDEP. And so if your child has seizures, you most likely have heard of SUDEP before, but we are going to talk a little bit about SUDEP, and then we're also going to talk about some awesome monitors to hopefully reduce that chance of SUDEP. So I'm going to hand it over to Katie and we will get started.
Thank you. Well, I'm super excited to be here. I appreciate being included in this time that you guys have together and able to share our story. I will share some slides with you. There we go. All right. Feel free to, if you have questions, either write them down or hold on to them. I'm happy to stick around at the end. But also, if you want to throw them in the chat, and if we want to jump to them right in the midst, that's fine with me as well. Whatever works for everybody. Happy to make it more conversational if that's better. But again, my name is Katie, and I'm the program manager at Danny Did. Danny was actually my next door neighbor in the house that I grew up in. So I got to know him and his siblings, John and Mary Grace and Tommy, pretty well. And they were all kind of in and out of our kitchen and backyard, and so quickly became like family. So I do want to take a little bit of your time in introducing you to Danny. So Danny was athletic and affectionate, and he was super smart. He enjoyed doing everything with his three siblings. Danny had his first seizure at the age of 2. His parents witnessed 4 more seizures over the next 2 years. He was relatively well controlled with medication. He had no other medical complications. Just a few months before his 5th birthday, Danny visited his neurologist on a Tuesday, and they did a slight modification to his medication due to his weight gain, and they were told that they were on a good path. 4 days later, on a Saturday morning, Danny was found lifeless in his bottom bunk on December 12th, 2009. The first time his parents learned the term SUDEP was on Danny's death certificate. Danny's parents, Mike and Marianne, started the Danny Did Foundation to fill gaps in education and communication that they experienced during the treatment of Danny. The name of our organization comes from the last line of Danny's obituary, written by his dad, that said, "Please go and enjoy your life. Danny did." And that's the goal of our foundation. We do all that we can to support families facing epilepsy so they can enjoy their life. We engage with neurologists and other healthcare providers, families, advocates, and the general public to all join us in our goal to protect people of all ages with epilepsy. I'm going to share a short video with you to give you kind of a snapshot of what our mission, our programs, and our goals to be a resource to families in need.
Danny Stanton died on December 12, 2009. He was 4 years old. What followed were the hardest questions any parent can ask. Why him? Why didn't we know this could happen? And the Danny Did Foundation was born. Over the years, his family and foundation kept looking for answers until the Danny Did Foundation itself became the answer. The answer for countless others. The answer.
Buffering.
Oh, of course, it was working smooth a minute ago.
Right, right.
Let's see. I suppose I could just skip forward. I don't want to waste a lot of your time.
You're just fine. I feel like out of everyone in the world, our community is pretty agile and we roll with the punches.
Sure. Well, this was us at EADDL, Epilepsy Awareness Day at Disneyland, which is somewhere that we get to interact with lots of families. And this is also my colleague, Callie, who does work with me on our grant program. So it's good to see her face as well as we wait here. But let me see if I can get this to keep going. Hmm. Well, I'm happy to share the video with you guys. It talks about, and I'll get to our points of focus, but if it's okay, I'll send it to you and then hopefully you can send it out. Maybe
Absolutely.
circle back. So our two main points of focus, and as the video would have captured, I'm so sorry about that, is that our first point of focus is to increase public awareness about epilepsy and the risks that accompany it, and in particular, sudden unexpected death in epilepsy, or SUDEP. We really advocate for honest and open dialogue between doctors and parents. We work to impress upon healthcare providers that caregivers can and do digest difficult information about risks all the time. And then our second area of focus at Danny Did is to increase awareness of and access to devices and technology that can alert to seizures. So before we move on to kind of discuss the detection devices, I just want to take a couple minutes here and discuss SUDEP and what we know about it. So a death is referred to as SUDEP when a seemingly healthy person with epilepsy dies unexpectedly and no clear reason for the death can be determined. In most cases, an autopsy is required to rule out other causes of death. So the most common criteria used to determine whether a death is due to SUDEP are the person has epilepsy, which is defined as a recurring unprovoked seizures. The person dies unexpectedly while in a reasonable state of health. The death occurs suddenly and during normal activity, and this is typical to often be during sleep. An obvious medical cause of death cannot be determined by an autopsy, and the death was not the result of status epilepticus or prolonged seizure clusters. In most cases, SUDEP, the incident is not witnessed, and the patient is found dead in their bed in the morning by their family, which was the case with Danny. The precise reason or reasons regarding what causes a case of SUDEP are unknown and are still being researched. That's one of the most frustrating aspects about SUDEP. We don't know exactly why it's happening, but there are a few main theories. One being cerebral shutdown. The brain is shut off after a seizure, which means that their breathing may become suppressed, and that lack of breathing may be the primary cause. Also, cardiac or pulmonary abnormalities. So, a seizure may cause a dangerous heart rhythm or even heart failure. It's also possible that SUDEP may result from more than one cause or a combination of causes, and that the mechanism may be different for each case. So, people who die from SUDEP often, again, die unwitnessed at home while sleeping, with evidence that a seizure had occurred. This reoccurring circumstance highlights why we believe so strongly in the concept of monitoring and alerting for seizure activity so that a caregiver can intervene. The most recent research suggests that SUDEP occurs in 1 in 1,000 people with epilepsy. That applies to both adults and children. For people whose seizures are uncontrolled, however, that rate increases to 1 in 150 people. So, as we know, seeking seizure control is so important and can be critical. So let me explain a little bit about our SUDEP awareness program at Danny Did. We advocate, again, for honest and open dialogue between a doctor and a caregiver or a patient. And that includes the discussion of all the risks associated with epilepsy, including mortality. Before Danny died, his parents had never heard the term SUDEP. It was never a risk that had been raised with them by Danny's neurologist. That lack of disclosure, unfortunately, is common, and it is something we're trying to change. In surveys of patients and caregivers, about 95% say they want to be informed and educated on SUDEP. In surveys of providers, it's typical that about 30% of neurologists actually counsel their patients about the risks of SUDEP. So there's a big disconnect in meeting the need. Without learning about SUDEP, Danny's parents were not given the chance to try to protect him. We do not know if the outcome would have been different for Danny, but they deserved that chance, and we believe other parents deserve that chance too. Providing patients with information about risks associated with their condition can help them make informed decisions about their treatment and care, discussion of lifestyle behaviors such as medication adherence, daily routine, as well as how to monitor for a seizure, particularly at night, and awareness of outcomes such as sudden unexpected death in epilepsy might reduce morbidity and mortality for epilepsy. As the program director, I have the privilege of speaking with families every day, and the vast majority learn about SUDEP from their own research or from the Danny Did website. We have heard it time and time again. Why aren't they telling us about this? We understand and appreciate that this conversation can be hard, but we feel that knowledge is power. Once you have all the facts, you can really use them to keep your loved ones safe. So that kind of leads me to our role in filling the communication gaps. You can't protect someone from something that you don't know exists. So we created an awareness program consisting of, we have billboards on highways and busy airports, radio, TV PSAs, social media. We try to attend as many conferences as we can. We engage medical students, podcasts, and more. We even wrapped a city bus. We aim to reach as many as we can about the seriousness of epilepsy and to let people know that we're here to help. We exist to help.
I just
Education.
saw, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
I was just in the Chicago airport and I saw the poster there.
awesome. That's wonderful. Yeah. If you ever see them, take a picture and share it with us. We'd love to see where you are and where you see Danny. Um, so education on devices can alert to seizures. That's kind of our second point of focus. Technology within the epilepsy space is fast growing. We consider devices and technology to be a complement to medication, surgery, diet, kind of all part of a patient's treatment plan. We view devices to be another tool in a caregiver's toolkit. A device doesn't replace a parent's intuition or their vigilance, but monitoring and alerting systems can be kind of one piece of the puzzle that lends back up that they will be notified if a seizure is taking place. We all understand that monitoring seizure activity within a hospital or even a pre-hospital setting is important. We typically would never leave a patient unwatched or unmonitored in those settings, but then a patient leaves the hospital, and then what? Monitoring is just as important at home. We feel strongly about the simple concept of early intervention. If you're present, you can take action. Again, you have a chance to keep your loved ones safe, whether that's to prevent injury, provide a rescue med, or just be present. No one should be alone during a seizure. Monitoring and alerting devices have several benefits to both the patient and the caregiver. First, it's important to note that caregivers and patients want them and in many cases are already using them. So understanding that families are worried and scared of if and when another seizure will occur, and talking about devices should be included in every appointment with a healthcare provider. So there are several benefits. Improved seizure tracking for the person with epilepsy. Sometimes they're not sure. Did I have a seizure last night or during the day? Improved seizure tracking for the caregiver as well. Adding safety for the person with epilepsy. Reducing anxiety and increasing independence for the patient. And of course, increasing peace of mind and anxiety relief for the caregiver as well. These are all super important pieces that come along with a device. So within epilepsy technology, there are a range of device types. You may know that there's surgically implanted devices such as the VNS or the RNS. However, Danny Did really focuses on non-invasive seizure alerting devices. So For people facing seizures, nighttime can be a scary time. An alerting device can provide a layer of support that families need. There are devices that help alert to seizure movement during sleep that don't require the user to wear anything or have anything on them. Um, some can actually record the seizure, and then those recordings can be used to share with their doctor or healthcare provider. Um, the MFit movement monitor is one of them that you are seeing here, is an option for nocturnal monitoring. It's a monitoring system for quickly detecting and alerting abnormal, repetitive convulsive movements. This system's pretty simple to install. It has no body contact or anything attached to the individual that would potentially interfere with a peaceful night's sleep. The MFit consists of two main components that you're seeing there. This flexible, ultra thin under the mattress bed sensor, and then the bedside monitor that has the embedded software there. And then you're also seeing the SAMI monitor. It detects a wide range of movements, even some more subtle movements it can pick up on. The camera is connected to an iPad that the caregiver would have wherever they are in the home. They can take kind of a live look in at any point. There's also audio too. But again, it's looking for movement. And then once it's detecting that, an audible alarm will sound through that iPad and the caregiver can get to their loved one and check on them, similarly to the MFit. The SAMI, once it's triggered by movement, it does begin recording a video that could then, like I was mentioning, be shared with the doctor if you choose. So for individuals who have seizures at any time of day or night, a wearable option could potentially be best for them. These devices allow individuals to maintain some independence, such as go to work, go to school, or just go outside and play with their friends, knowing and having some comfort that a loved one or a caregiver would be alerted in the instance of a seizure. So these are two options here, the Epi Monitor by Empatica as well as the Inspire app. The Epi Monitor features a wearable watch and has a smartphone application for detecting possible generalized tonic-clonic seizures and monitoring epilepsy. The Epi Monitor subscription package includes seizure alerting. There's a seizure diary piece, alert to location. And this product is FDA cleared for adults and children ages 6 and up. It does require a prescription from a doctor. And then the Inspire app detects repetitive shaking motion and elevations or decreases in heart rate, as well as geolocation. It signals the user's device to send a text and a phone call alert to whomever the user has designated, such as multiple family members or caregivers within seconds. The contacts will receive alerts through phone calls and text messages, similarly to the Epi Monitor as well. Inspire users can also summon help by the push of a button on their smartwatch. Alerts can be sent to any phone anywhere. And then Inspire is also, I'm sorry if I didn't say this already, it is compatible with Apple and Android phones as well. Both of these devices do require the user to have their own smartphone and suggest that those devices are within approximately like 25 feet of the user. So while no device is perfect and no device company claims to prevent SUDEP, the Danny Did Foundation is devoted to seeking out seizure detection and seizure prediction devices, as well as other technologies that are designed to enable intervention by a caregiver. We do encourage caregivers and patients to really do their own research into seizure detection devices, as well as consult with their doctor to determine what may work best for them. Our site, which is dannydid.org, provides information on the devices that we were just talking about, as well as a few others, as well as information for both the clinician, so your doctor as well. So if you're talking with them, you can also share our website. Caregivers and healthcare providers can find all these resources on the devices page of our website. Many families find this helpful when trying to navigate selecting a device, as well as navigating those conversations with healthcare providers about devices, but also about SUDEP. many of our conversations will end there with education and information. However, most seizure detection devices are not covered by insurance and they can be expensive. And this is where we can be another resource to families. So if finances are a barrier for a family, they can apply to Danny Did for a grant to help make their purchase. So families all over the US and even the world can reach out and apply for grant funding. um, Danny Did works with families and not companies. So we encourage all grantees to reach out directly to the company for help with setup, maintenance, any technology related questions. Um, a reminder that Danny Did does not make or sell any of these device products, nor do we endorse one over the other. Our nonprofit is a neutral entity whose role is to help patients and caregivers to navigate their options and access information that will help them to make an informed decision about which system might work best in their scenario. Um, we continually receive applications. So, in order to help as many families as we can help with one device per family. There are a few devices listed on our website that we are not able to provide funding for, but we really want to be an information resource as well. We want families to be aware of all the potential options that could be available to them. So we really want to serve as a place of support and information, as well as a place to help families in financial need. You're always welcome to reach out to me directly if you have any questions. And our website can also provide information and brochures that are downloadable to read or share with your doctor or anybody else in your circle to utilize during those conversations. So here is my direct information. Again, feel free to reach out at any point to if you have questions about devices or the program or how we can be a resource to you. Don't hesitate. I'd love to hear from you. So, again, thank you so much for including me and having me here. And remember, please go and enjoy your life. Danny did.
Thank you, Katie. I was just
Mhm.
going to actually touch on my experience when I went through this 9.5 years ago with my daughter Stella. And I remember going to your guys' website, looking at all the different monitors. My husband and I were like, okay, we kind of think this one might be best. And then we took all that information to our neurology appointment and said, okay, this is kind of what we were thinking. And, at first we were thinking one of the watches. Now, a lot has changed in the last nearly 10 years. But, when we were talking to our doctor, she's like, I actually don't think that is going to be the best fit, but let's talk about some of these others. And so we ended up going with the SAMI monitor. And we applied for the program, and we were one of the applicants and grantees, which was amazing. I mean, at the time, so we were going through so much with her diagnosis, and the
Mhm.
bills were just piling up, and being able to say yes, you could, we're going to provide this for you. And it was our biggest fear at the current moment of yeah, walking into Stella's room and her no longer being alive one morning. And so that monitor made a huge difference in our lives. And then knowing that you guys provided that for free for us was extremely, extremely helpful for us. And so first of all, just want to say thank you to the Danny Did organization. And I know we have a lot of families that have also gone through this and received grants, and it's a really big deal for our community. So thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. That's
And I
amazing that you
want
guys are still using it and it's working
Yeah,
for her.
I know. You know what's
Oh,
funny? You said it came with an iPad, and I was like, so when we got it, it was
probably
gosh, I think it was like a
it's an
an
iPod, I think.
I think it was an
Yeah.
iPod. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
was like, it was either an iPod or an iPhone 4 or something like, but I'm pretty
Okay.
sure it's an
Yeah.
iPod. And so that kaputted, but then we put the app on on a phone. So every time we upgrade our phone, then we upgrade the Sammy monitor phone.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
so yeah,
amazing.
we're still going strong, but it works really well.
Good.
And it also, we have overnight nursing for Stella, and it actually works really well for that too. So then
Wonderful.
someone doesn't have to just sit in her room and stare at her. They
Yeah.
have the monitor that they can use in addition to, being able to to be close to her. We do have a couple of questions in the chat, so let
Oh,
me kind
great.
of look through here. Um, I asked everybody if they had heard about SUDEP before
Mhm.
this call, and it does sound like most people did. So I
Right.
think the awareness piece that you guys are doing is really, really
Right.
helping. And I think it's one of those dreaded conversations that doctors, don't really want to have, but I think that they're having the conversations more likely than they did. I was trying to
Mhm.
figure out. So was Danny's birthday? Would he be 20 this year? Did I do that right? Was he born in 2005?
He would
Is
be, I think it was oh 04.
oh four. Okay, okay. So not so
Um
over 20. So he'd be
he'd
21.
be turning 21 if I am
Wow. If
if
we're
I'm
doing the
doing
math
that right.
correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
I know.
that's yes.
I
Ugh,
know.
heart to his family.
It's really
Um,
yeah.
mhm. So we have a couple people on the call that it sounds like, they're either co-sleeping because
Mhm.
they're a hard sleeper, they're afraid they're going to wake
Sure.
up, or they won't wake up when they have
Yeah.
a seizure.
Mhm.
So let's see, one family member says that they have a pulse ox, but lately his seizures are not setting off the monitor. He
Okay.
rolls and moves around a lot at night.
Right.
So would that alarm, or would that alarm of these monitors just go off from moving and rolling around?
Yeah. That's a great question. That's a great question. It's one we get quite a bit with these busy sleepers.
Right.
Um so both the Sammy and the MFIT do have a bit of a buffer built
Mm-hmm.
in. So I think the Sammy's like 15 to 20 seconds, and it is customizable, and it's customizable on the MFit as well. You can kind of dial in the sensitivity um, in the time from movement to alarm. And so you
Yep.
are able to tailor that and change that, but that buffer is built in so you're not being alerted every time, sweet buddy's getting comfy or fluffing a pillow or
Right.
moving a blanket or, you know, so there does have to be repetitive movement that lasts a certain amount of time. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But it all depends on kind of where you need that sensitivity level, and that's why we do say it doesn't replace a parent's vigilance or their intuition. Parent intuition is
Mm-hmm.
is wildly amazing, but
Right.
get once you have the device, getting to know it and spending some
Mm-hmm.
time there getting to know it, dialing in those settings, making sure it's alerting you to what you want it to be alerting, and in a timely manner that works for you and your family. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, you are able to kind of play with that buffer um, time to make sure that you're not being alerted every time they move. Hmm.
Right. Right. Okay.
Hmm.
So that's both the MFIT and the CME.
Hmm. Yeah.
The two applications that are the two monitors that you had that were watches. I know
Hmm.
gosh, now what was the one that has the watch that it comes with? Did both of them come with the watch, or one's an app and one's a watch, right?
Yeah. So the Epi monitor, which is made by a company called Empatica, that's FDA cleared, that one comes with its own watch. They send you a watch, and then you download the app and to the user's phone, um, and then uh, it works like that. And then the Inspire, and actually one that is newer to the market, like pretty brand new, is called Epi Watch. And
Mm,
that is also an app that recently was FDA cleared as well. So that is another one that needs a prescription. That one is compatible with Apple. And so you would get a smartphone, an Apple Watch, and then download the app. The Inspire, you do not need a prescription for. That is compatible with Apple and Android products. Again, you get the smartwatch.
mhm,
Um, and then the wearables do require the user to have a phone. And so that's something
mhm,
important to keep in mind when you're thinking about, okay, the age of the person using it.
right.
Can they carry a phone around with them all the time? And the reason for that, because sometimes parents or caregivers are like, oh, I'll just attach it to my phone. I'll put my phone in there at night. But the reason for this is the watch picks up on that rhythmic jerky motion and sends a signal from the watch to the phone. And then that phone is what's sending the signal out. So if your
Mm,
loved one is holding onto your phone, you're not getting the alert. Does that make
gotcha.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you need that in between point. I will say Inspire if will work if you have a smartphone that has cellular capabilities. So you would take your smartwatch to whoever your cell provider is and put cell service on the watch so that the
Mm,
watch can make phone calls and text messages. And so the Inspire app will work with cell data on the watch. That's the only one like
gotcha.
that, though. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And
All of these are on
oh,
our
go ahead.
site as well with links to their websites. And we just did a webinar with Inspire and a webinar actually with all three Inspire, Empatica, and then the new EpiWatch with their
Nice.
manufacturer. So each one of those webinars are linked under that device. So you can click it, watch it. They really explain how everything works and what you need to run it and all the things. So it's super helpful. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Shelly in the chat, she reminded me that we have a partnership with SAMI as well. So TCSF has a partnership. So if someone's not
Great.
needing a full grant, but a
Mm-hmm.
discount would be helpful, we are able to arrange, we can typically arrange some type of discount. So
Awesome.
if that's helpful for families. We
Great.
had a couple other here. Let's see. Um, so when you said a few of them need prescriptions, I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming they would just need to ask their neurologist most likely to get that prescription. And then do they submit the prescription in with you guys if they're doing the grant program, or do they submit it to the company?
Great question. So Empatica actually has a template. So if that's helpful for you to download and send it or upload it to your patient portal or however you communicate with your doctor, you're able to do that. And I believe EpiWatch either just released it or it's coming, having a template. And so that's sometimes helpful when you're chatting with your doctor about what you need. But when you're applying, you'll notice if you're applying for an Epi monitor or an Epi watch, you do have to upload a copy, but you should keep the original. Um,
Okay.
as I mentioned in the talk, we don't produce or sell the devices. So our grant program, the funds actually come directly to the grantee, and the grantee is making their purchase. So for both of those devices, you do have to upload your prescription upon purchase. And so
Okay.
we do provide some purchasing instructions and things and how to do it, but ultimately the grantee is making their purchase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
There was one more other question, and jump in the person who asked me this. Um, so does SUDEP happen after a seizure? So essentially, it would be a consequence of a seizure. Correct?
Um,
Well, that's the theory.
yes, yes. There's a lot of wonderfully smart people studying this and working
Right.
on it and trying to find answers. But that is, like you said, the theory is that a seizure is causing, like I said, this cerebral shutdown or this heart arrhythmia. And then once the seizure ends, the you're
The
not starting
board.
to breathe again, or your
Right.
heart's not going back to that regular rhythm. And so SUDEP typically happens following a seizure. Um, and so again, that's being studied and they're looking at all the different mechanisms and biomarkers and all sorts of things that are really causing SUDEP, but it is a result of a seizure and it does happen ultimately after a seizure. Mhm.
Right. And I think
Mhm.
that's just to point out again. So if we had monitoring devices that would maybe alert us to
Mhm.
these potential to the seizures that could
Yeah,
potentially end up in SUDEP, then we would be
yeah,
able to come in and intervene. So whether that's
yeah,
calling 911, administering rescue meds,
mhm,
doing CPR,
yeah.
AED, any of those things to be able to, yeah, intervene
Exactly.
would be
E-
helpful.
Exactly right. Early intervention, we believe, could really be a game changer and help mitigate some of the risks associated with SUDEP. And so these devices allow you to get to a person, make sure that they're in a good, safe position, and that they, you're assessing them as the seizure goes, but also that post-signal stage as well. Mhm.
That's good. I think that's all the questions I see so far. Does anybody else have any questions? You can either come off mute or put them in the chat, and we can try to get to those before we sign off for today. But I would highly recommend taking a look at the different monitors that Danny did has on their website. Would you say that some people have two monitors that they use kind of as backup to one?
Yeah, some families do. Some families do. And sometimes they'll use a nocturnal monitor, and then if their kiddo or loved one goes to school, they might use a wearable. Um, so yes, it's not unheard of to have multiple. Not definitely not unheard of. And sometimes, as I'm sure you all are well aware, seizures can change in the way they present,
Mhm.
or they might like somebody in the chat was talking about, they were using a pulse ox. It doesn't seem to be alerting to the seizure types at this moment, that things may have changed, and maybe adding a monitor that will see something different if there's not a change to heart rate or oxygenation.
Mhm.
Maybe the movement piece will alert them. So yeah, absolutely, using multiple is not unheard of.
Yeah.
And so through our grant program, we can help with one, but we can
Right.
talk to you about all of them. So
Sure.
yeah, I'm just throwing our website in the chat, and then I'll also put my email.
Yeah.
So really
Because I
don't
think
hesitate
it's
to reach out.
awesome. And I do think, like you mentioned too, it's key trying to find the monitor that's going to fit your child's needs, but
Yeah.
also your own needs
Mhm.
of, what's going to be most helpful for a caregiver. We've even talked about there are certain tones or different monitor beeping that
Mhm.
totally brings us some PTSD as caregivers. And
Yep.
so even thinking about that, like we want to make sure that if you're getting a monitor that you can use it and it's not going to cause you to have an anxiety attack every single time it goes off. So, really kind of taking a look at that. And so, if someone is interested in a monitor, they can give you guys a call, chat through that. And then, if they need the grant program, then they can apply through Danny did as well.
Yep. And our application's on our website. It's all right there. It's not super long. I know everyone's, you have a lot on your plate. So we do try to keep it simple. So it's not super long. You can fill it out, submit it. It comes directly to me. I review it. The next step is that you would get an email. If there was anything missing or if I needed more information, I would just ask. But if it's all there together, you'll get a scheduling email, and we schedule a short Zoom conversation, and we ask a couple questions. It's usually like 15 minutes. And then we're able to tell you how we can move forward with the grant. And like I had mentioned, it does come directly, um, the funds do come directly to you, for you to make your purchase, but we kind of help with how to do all that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, sounds good. Well, I'm
Thank you
not
for having
seeing
me.
else. Yeah, anything in the chat. So I think we can wrap it up there. Katie, again, thank you so much for coming online and chatting with us. And then
Yeah.
also, I'm just going to do a shout out to our sponsors for this educational series. We have Praxis Precision Medicine and Orokin Biosciences. Thank you, everyone, for coming on today and spending your time with us. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you. Good night.